Hi, teammates. This is Sean J. McCaw once again coming at you from Germany for the Eurostep, this episode of the Eurostep, in any case, where we look behind the curtain of European basketball and see what these people are made of, and not just in a basketball sense, but also what they do outside of the court, whether they're still playing, whether they're a GM or an agent or they're retired. So that's the most important thing, to make these people more human and not just look at them as athletes. Before we get started, let me remind you that on the bottom of your screen there is the question mark with the bubble. You can throw a question there if you would like, or in the comment section, and I will try to infuse your question into the interview as well. It could be that it's one of the questions that I ask. It could be it's something else that I haven't thought about, which would be kind of cool too. Yeah, so for tonight's episode, I am not going to butcher her name, so I will just call her Val Berez. I think she'll be able to tell us her real name in a second. Val played 14 seasons overseas, and yeah, I mean, she's Ukrainian, and I guess you can't really consider her saying that she played overseas when she's, from over here. And but she had a great career over here, and we'll discuss her interesting story, how she came to Miami as a teenager, how she eventually got drafted into the cutthroat world of the WNBA, and then we'll dive into her stellar European career as well, and also what's really important is what she has up her sleeves now that she has retired. So that'll be a really cool thing to hear about as well. So let me add her into the. Okay. So thank you for everyone who is joining. There she is. How you
Hey,
doing,
hey,
Val? Val, please,
I'm good.
I did not want to butcher your name, so please do me the
It's
favor and
That's why it's shortened to Val Berez because everybody butchers it. It's Valeriya Berezhynska.
okay. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day there in Miami. You're in Miami, right?
I am in Houston. Hi, Kyle.
See,
That's my
you got
friend.
everybody coming out here joining. So you're in Houston right now.
Yes.
Okay. Is that where you're living totally, like
Yeah.
full time? Okay. So yeah, so right now I just want to start by letting the viewers know, my teammates know how we met. And of course, like 98% of the people that I've had on the show, we have never met. That's not unusual for my broadcast. I think I started following you through someone else's page, and I had seen your name somewhere before because, of course, in basketball, you see names, you kind of know people, but you don't know them.
Right.
And so then I started following you, and then I saw that you were retiring. So I wanted to make sure that I got you on so you could tell your story. I think it's a pretty cool story once I started to
Yeah.
investigate it a little bit. And so I'm glad to have you on, and so you can kind of tell your story to the world. Um, yeah, and just feel free to discuss what you like in these questions. I'm not going to stop you or anything like that. Please take it as a laid back conversation and not so much of a interview. That's my goal.
I'm here for it.
Okay, so let's get started. Hopefully we'll have some viewer questions as well. And just like I said before, if anybody wants to throw a comment in there and ask a question, I will be more than happy to get your questions on while the interview is going on. So, in my research about you, Val, I read briefly about your kind of coming to America moment. You left home as a teen and moved to Miami without really any knowledge of America, the language, basketball, or I read also not even the
Yeah.
internet.
Oh,
How does
Lord,
it,
no.
how does a Ukrainian girl move to Miami with no real knowledge of what you were getting yourself into?
Yeah. I want to say, I mean, obviously I was 14, so it was a while back and I wasn't as involved in the process, but another girl 1 year older than I and this other guy from my city, they already went through this. It's not an exchange program, but they went to school and to high school in Miami to the same school. It was a private school and they had a lot of, not a lot of, but like 4 or 5 basketball players and several baseball players from other countries. And somehow I got connected with them. Obviously, like I didn't do, any of it. I just know my dad asked me one day, he was like, "Hey, do you want to go to the United States? And it's going to be super scary." And I was just like, "Okay." And that was my reaction. so yeah, they organized all of it. It was kind of a big thing at that time to try to, go to the United States to play. Um,
Right.
so I remember I spent the entire summer traveling with the national team, like 14 and under, and then I came home and I had maybe 2 weeks, and they were like, "All right, here's your
Off you
bag."
go.
Yeah, I didn't think much about it because, of course, at that time we didn't have internet. There's nothing. I didn't know anything what to expect. I didn't know anything, so I just was like, okay, cool, going to
So
America.
you were really flying blind.
So blind. Yeah,
How good was your English at that point?
there was no English at that point. My coach, on the first day, he was like, what did he say? He said, "How are you?" And all I learned in school was, "How do you do?" And I was like, well, sir. And I just completely got thrown off. I was like, oh gosh, no, it was bad. So no, I didn't speak English. I had to go to half of my classes were in this like special ACE class. I don't know what it stood for, but we did like workbooks. And then the other half, I just sat in class, like listening
Mm.
to
How long
stuff.
did it
So
take you? How long did it take you to feel comfortable with the English language?
mm, it was probably like a year after the first year, because after the first semester, they moved me to all the regular classes, but I
Mm.
still wasn't doing all of the like assignments.
Right.
Uh, but hi, Jess. But after about a year, I was kind of sort of, I mean, not speaking English, but I understood enough to be, somewhat comfortable.
Yeah, but kids at that age and younger, they pick it up really well. I teach at an international school here in Germany, and we get kids from Japan that have no, they're like in the third grade, and might come to my class in the third grade, and they have zero English. So they pick it up really quickly, and if they're interested in it, and so I think it was probably really scary for you to move to the States, right? I mean, you're away from your family, right?
Yes and no. So my dad played basketball as well. He played in Poland. So one of the years when I was 12, I think in sixth grade, I moved for a year with him. So we lived in Poland. So I kind of sort of was familiar with like what happens when you're away. Um, Not too much, of course, but I don't know. Like I didn't. Is it bad to say like I didn't really miss anyone? I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm in Miami. Like, do, 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 do.
You were down for the journey.
I was. And yeah, and when I left, I didn't, obviously, I thought I was going to just go for a school year and then come back in the summer,
Mm,
but I ended up being gone for 8.5 years.
that's
But
wild.
that was total like accident kind of. Um,
What, what about like, yeah, I mean, how was it like for basketball wise for you? Different culture, but also different basketball style and things like that. Was it like a big culture shock for you?
I don't remember it being so. I just started playing seriously maybe 2 years prior to arriving to in Miami, and I don't know. Like I honestly, I didn't think about basketball. Like I did, but I wasn't over analyzing. I don't know. I think I was just like, when you don't know, you don't know. So I was just like going with the
Right,
flow.
right. So after high school, you go to Rice University. And how did it come for you that you got recruited by Rice and were you a big time recruit back then?
I mean, I had quite a few offers. I went to visit like 5 schools for the stupidest reasons ever because once again, I don't know, nobody's teaching me these things. Like I didn't know what a conference was. I went to visit Georgetown because Allen Iverson went there and like, hello, big fan. So I was like going there. I went to Vermont because they offered me and my teammate at the time to go together. And I was like, when am I ever going to be in Vermont? So I went there. I went in Seton Hall because I liked the coaches. They were really cool and like recruiting. And I was like, oh, they seem like we would be friends. So I went there. And then Liberty, I went because my teammate, she was a year older, my high school teammate, she was there. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go visit her for free.
Right.
And
Cool.
then I went to Rice because, as one of the people here mentioned, that I played AAU with Lauren, and she was already there, and they just came and presented themselves in like a very professional manner. And I was like, oh, like these people are serious.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I just went to visit all the schools, and then at Rice we played open gym, and that was like the only place where I played open gym that like I could not do anything. I was like, holy crap. And the weather was nice, deceivingly so, and the campus and everything. And I was just like, oh, this looks like it would be a fun
It
place.
fits.
Yeah, and that was my decision. Don't do
And
it. But
and did you regret it at all? No.
no, no, at all. Like I would do it over again.
I mean, you had a great career at Rice.
I did. I mean, it was difficult. We switched coaches, and then
Right.
that changed
Things
kind of
changed,
like
yeah.
who they were recruiting and
Mhm.
things like that. So we didn't have many people who were committed to basketball. So that made it hard. Of course, for someone like I knew I was going to play professionally after, or I wanted to. And it's hard to play with people that don't care. They're just trying to get through school. So that was the hard part. But everything else, I loved it. It was great. And I mean, life outside of basketball was also important to me, and that was awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of professionally, so you already thought that, okay, I'm going to go professional at some point. You end up getting drafted, 42nd pick in the 2008 draft. I'm for some reason I'm pretty sure you didn't like that picture I posted in the promo in
No,
this.
I did not. What the heck? I saw it. I was like, really? Like, was there nothing better? But okay, we have limited material to work with.
Yes, 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 that's right.
Yes, man, I just looked so young and chunky and, the pose with the hair down. I don't know. I was new to it. It's
So yeah, so you get drafted 42nd pick for Detroit. But especially back then, there were less teams and everything. The WNBA is real cutthroat.
yeah.
So what was your experience with the WNBA when you got after you got
So
drafted?
I had several. Detroit was absolute nightmare. I kind of was like, if this is what basketball is, professional, like I don't want any part of it. It was horrible. I had Bill and Beers, my coach, and
Mhm.
then Rick Mahorn was the assistant, and Cheryl Reeve, who I don't know if she's still in. She was in Minnesota. I don't know. Horrible teammates. I'm sorry if any of them read this. Fucking horrible. Cheryl Ford, Lord Jesus, I don't like a nightmare. And they build their team, after kind of like the Detroit's bad boys.
Right,
Like,
bad boys.
I'm not bad boys. It was misery. It was misery. They were just rough and not very supportive. And at that time, like you're new, you're fresh, and I'm not a star player. So of course, I'm looking to people for like help, and I didn't get any of
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
It was more like I don't know. They were just like, talk down on you and like do the whole hazing shit. And I was like, not
Mhm.
into it because I'm like, I'm not here for this. So that was miserable. I honestly just stopped. I stopped. I just stopped. Yeah. So when
Mhm.
they cut me, I went to talk to Rick Mahorn and he was like, what the hell? Like, you're stupid. Like, you were on the roster. Like, we were going to keep you. And I was like, I don't want to be here.
Mhm.
So I left and then I got picked up by San Antonio later.
Antonio.
And that was complete 180. Amazing. I had Dan Hughes, who was in Seattle for a while, and just great teammates. I don't know, and I idolized Ruth Riley at that time because she graduated when I was still in high school, and like my locker was next to her, and I just remember like crying one day. I was like, oh my God, like, this is oh, my mom is here. Hi, mom.
Hi,
Um,
Mom.
like it was a great. This is what basketball like. They were very supportive even during hard practices. I had Vicky Johnson was one of my vets, and she was just like, "It's okay. It's gonna be hard now, but it's gonna be easy in the game. Like just push yourself." But whereas
Oh no, what's happening? Oh no. Come on, come on, come on back. I guess I'll have to get out and come back in. No, it's a great story. Okay, I think we're having a problem with Val's connection because it said she left. I'm gonna stay on. Maybe she comes back. Yes, she did. Okay, let's get her back in. And
I'm here.
there we go.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh, I was freaking out. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Calm everybody. Hi, Elise. but yeah,
So
I don't know where I stopped on, but basically, San Antonio experience was complete.
different. Mm,
Yeah. I turned around and I was like, okay, this is really cool. But unfortunately, I had to leave because I already had a contract in France, and my
mm.
agent told me we can't break it. Totally should have. And then Detroit and San Antonio ended up going to the playoffs. I was really pissed.
So okay, so then you end up going to France. So what was it, or how did it come about that you would have signed in France, although you were still under contract in San Antonio?
Because I didn't go to San Antonio until August, and I think I signed in like June or
Okay,
July. So
okay,
I already had the
okay.
contract, and they were like, "No, you can't or you shouldn't or whatever." Now
Right,
looking back, I wish my agent, tried a little harder. It was only like a few weeks of season that I would have missed, and it was just unfortunate because I think that was a great opportunity, and they wanted to keep me for the rest of the season, and you know.
okay. So hindsight is 2020, but what about like your journey then to France was your first station? Were you prepared? How prepared were you for then becoming a pro overseas in Europe?
Zero preparation. I think I was more prepared to come to United States not speaking English and not knowing anything than I was to go to France my first year. Um, One of my first experiences was going to, first of all, we didn't have internet for the first 2 weeks, and I was just like, what the heck?
Bummer.
Um, 2 a days, I was like, what is this? Never had a 2 a days in my
Right,
life. Like, why are we doing this? And at that time, so now all the teams have WhatsApp, so you share your calendar, and they're telling you what time
right.
practices. At that time, we didn't have that, and I didn't have the like French phone or anything. So hi Anna, and so I would literally just sit at home, and then my teammate would knock on my door, and she'll be like, "We're leaving," and I would pick up my shoes and go. Sometimes it was once a day, sometimes it was twice. It was just a surprise every day. And then, so one of my experiences is we go to play this like friendly game, and I just bring my shoes basically. And after the game, everybody's taking a shower, and I'm like, "Where are the towels?" Like, "Oh, did you bring a towel?" And I was like, "No, don't they give you towels?" Because in college, like they gave us towels,
Right,
they gave us water, like
right.
everything you needed. And there, like you had to bring everything on your own. And even I used to get like really bad. Oh, Anna, I had really bad blisters, so I had to buy these. It's like expensive, like second skin thing that I don't know. I
I
used to
remember
get out of
those.
my
Yeah.
training room, and I was like, "Well, where's this stuff?" And they're like, "No, you have to buy everything like on your own." And I was just like, "Who's gonna wash our jerseys?" They're like, "You were washing your jersey." It was a mess. It was a mess. I hated it. I was like, "I'm never coming back." And I ended
Obviously
up
you
being in
did.
France for 9 years, so
Yeah,
I came
obviously,
back.
obviously you did. So what do you think, looking back on it, what do you think could have helped you? Do you think it's like the agent's responsibility to kind of inform the players on what they're about to face, or is it more on the player side? Okay, back then, the internet wasn't so prevalent as it is now. Finding information is much easier now. But still, do you think it falls more on the player or on the agent, especially when it's a first year player?
Ah, man. I mean, I'm inclined to say the agent because as a player, how like you don't know what you don't know, so how do you even find,
Right,
the information? So I feel like it would have been a lot of help if the agent could provide at least like a pamphlet or conversation, whatever, with like just like, hey, these are the basics, of like what you can't expect overseas, like little things like bringing your towels the 2 a days, like all of that. It was a lot of like culture shock, let's say, and then just things that you can ask, you can't like that are reasonable to request. I mean, I've
right.
been in some, like apartments and just on teams that I was like, how is it,
Yeah.
how is this even real? Like you are just not prepared, and it's just like first year things get thrown at you. You don't speak the language. Like now I'm okay. I can make it whether I go to like Italy, Spain, whatever. I know the routine a bit better, so like I could find my way around. But that year it was really rough. I cried a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was
What
crying like
was
every other
what
day.
was your lowest point in France that first year?
It literally was like every day. No, it really, I was just at home because it was like a bare bones apartment. It was like kind of old. I had no internet for the longest. you're alone. I had no Americans on my team. I had one girl
Mm.
from Hungary. They gave me a stick shift. I barely learned how to drive a regular car like a few weeks before that. I didn't learn. I just went and whatever, got my
Learning by doing.
lessons. Yeah, so it was really rough. And I remember at the end of the season, I got injured. Like I got kneed in my thigh, and
Mm.
my leg was really hurting, and I kept on like falling all the time. And come to find out, I had like a big tear in my muscle. And I was just like, I'm leaving. And I just like, because they told me I needed like 6 weeks of recovery. I went and packed my stuff and I was like, I'm out of here. Um, it was bad. I didn't want to come back. And I ended up turning down so many offers after that from friends. And I was like, I never want to come back here. I came back. I went right back.
Yeah, you did. Did you come back right the next year before you started going to other places?
Yes, I said no to this team in Montville. I was like, no, and they were like in EuroLeague. It was like a good offer. I was like, don't want to go. And then I ended up accepting that same offer, but a lot of money less at the end of September. Because I just like I was so traumatized by all the experiences that I said no
Right.
to everybody. It was at the end of September. My agent was like, "All right, girl, like you have to pick a team."
Mm.
So I ended up going back, and from then on, everything
It was fine.
it was better. Yeah.
So you played in France, Poland, Turkey, Spain, and Belgium,
Yep.
and you won the double in Belgium.
Ooh, it's a painful topic that I have not processed yet. Did not win in Belgium at all. Um, my
Why did
team
I
won.
read somewhere that you had a double? No,
Poland.
Poland.
Yeah,
Poland.
we won the Polish Cup and the Polish Championship,
Okay,
but I was injured that year at the end of the year, so I didn't like actually play in them, but my team won.
doesn't
Counts.
matter. You got the championship. Doesn't matter. So,
Yeah.
what? Obviously, you played in France the longest, but how was the experience of moving from country to country, and how was the basketball compared to in the different countries? Was there a big gap in style, or not gap, but a big difference in style as you moved across other teams in Europe?
Yeah, there definitely was. So several of the reasons I stayed in France is I liked it was very physical. It was kind of like slower and very team oriented. A lot of French players are really good, so it was a solid league.
Mhm.
Um, and I kind of knew, started listening, like had friends all over the place. So I started picking up on all of those things. And in France, which was another thing that was important to me, you're treated as an employee. So you have, Social Security, they file taxes, you're
Right, right.
legit. So like when Corona hit, like my salary was paid for by
Mhm.
the government. So like they're very like legit. And when I went to Turkey, for example, they still owe me money. Like it was very like everything is under the table, and I just that's like one of the things that I didn't like. But yes,
Mhm.
I have heard about different leagues that in Turkey it's a lot of like WNBA players. You play one on one. The Turkish
Right.
players aren't as good, so I kind of was like I already knew that, and I was like I know what I'm good at, and I was like I'll stay in France. And then so yeah, when I started traveling a bit more in Spain, I tried to make Spain happen so hard. It didn't. The style was so different that it was hard for me to
To
um,
adjust.
kind of like yeah adjust to it and for them to understand me and for me to understand them, and also like because I have been in France at that point but for so long, um, maybe I got also kind of like set in my ways. So yeah, it was hard, and I kind of was like, well, French league is better. Like I don't know, I had
Mhm.
it's a bias, but I just thought that they were more well-rounded um, as a league and like the type of basketball they play and what they teach. And I don't know, I respect that, admire that, and I think I fit well into that. So yeah, it was difficult in Turkey and in Spain. It was kind of faster, less organized.
No, I totally get that because, of course, me as a player too, I moved around quite a bit by design, and some leagues fit and some leagues didn't. And I can remember the first time I came to Germany, I played like crap. That was terrible.
Yeah.
And everything was great where I was at. I was in Oldenburg. The city was fine. My teammates, I was playing with one of my best friends. It was great, but for some reason it just didn't click with that team. I had
Mm-hmm.
by far the worst statistical career of my career, season of my career, and there's just sometimes it just doesn't fit. But ironically, when I came back to Germany, it fit much better. Maybe it was because I was a little bit older, I had more experience
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. But of course, as a professional, you don't know until you go.
Yeah.
You think you know, but until you're actually there and you actually play games, you're not going to know if one country is better for you than another. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like trial and error. And I
Yeah.
really respect the fact that you kind of found your niche, if you want to say it like that, in France, and that's why you said, okay, that's my kind of brand of ball, and you
Yeah.
figured that.
And well, the reason I left the first time is because I knew I kind of got comfortable and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
before my
Yeah,
career is over, I want to go try myself in other places just for, I don't know, for challenge, for growth. Like,
right.
I know I can do well in France and like it's always going to be there. They'll take me back. But I don't know, that's like, it's just not doing the same thing over and over again. I understand it was working and, I could have saved myself a lot of headache, but I don't know, it's not as fun.
It's part of the experience. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to sometimes go through those troubling times or times where you're just like, okay, this is not it. This is
Yeah.
just not it. To actually grow as a person and as a player. And
Absolutely. And that's
there's
exactly
nothing
what
wrong
I
with it.
wanted to do. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. What was your decision-making process when you would get offers? Did you look more at the contract, financially, or did you look at the have discussions with the coaches? How did you initially make your decisions for where you would go?
Oh my gosh. At the beginning, it was terrible. There was no rhyme or rhythm to any of that. It was just kind of like, do I like the city? Then if I'm re-signing to the same city, I'm like, okay, are my friends staying? Oh my God. Yeah. Towards the end, the last maybe 5 seasons, I started requesting to talk to the coach and see what they're recruiting me for. And one team, I still agreed to go there. I talked to him and he was like, "Yeah, I watched one of your Euro Cup games. You played great defense." And I was like, "Wow, sir, you're in for a rude awakening because this is not it." And I was just like, "Okay." And then I talked to some other people and they're like, "Oh, he's not really a good coach." And I was like, "Yeah, I could tell because
Duh.
I'm not a good or even okay defender." Still went there, whatever. I was like, "I'll take your money. You're stupid and that's your fault." So, but yeah, I started asking, and the one year I did not see. I
Lauren.
confirmed. She's probably confirming that I'm not a
Lauren
great
chiming
defender.
in.
Yeah, but yeah, and later I started asking, and so my last year, oh my gosh, got lucky with a great coach. He's actually French, and he's seen me play, and he tried to recruit me back in France, and he was like, "I know you're a great shooter, you're a great passer, um, and you play with the team. I want you for that." And I was like, what I can deliver is that. So that was like, yeah, that was the process. But sometimes, of course, you have like some give and takes. I did want to be in an area that's kind of like explorable. There are things to see, maybe better weather that avoided me for most of my career. That's fine. So yeah, things like that, you start kind of weighing things like, okay, your salary, are my friends on the team, like me and Khalees over there commenting, like it's a lot easier when you're going with one of your best friends to go
Right.
play. Yeah, so it was, yeah, a lot of different factors, and sometimes I needed one thing more than the other. Sometimes I went purely for money. Other times I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, several of my friends are on the team. I'm going there no matter what because I know I'll have a good time. So,
I seriously appreciate your honesty and your openness right now because you just said sometimes I went for the money. Not very many people would admit that, even though we all have done it.
kidding me? What are you
We've
out there
all
for?
done it. And I mean, let's be real. Our careers are very short-lived, right?
Yeah,
Father Time he's always gonna catch you and he's undefeated, right? So
yeah,
at some point your active playing career is over. And what a lot of people don't realize is how much pressure that puts on us to earn a certain amount of money with maybe an uncertain future
yeah,
behind. And of course, if you get injured, it's over. It can be over like that. So it's a lot of stress for athletes to realize, okay, I have to make a certain amount of money in a very short limited amount of time,
Yeah.
and I'll figure the rest out. So yeah, I mean, we've all done it. I went somewhere for the money, and it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But would I do it again? Probably, because it was a really good check, you know.
You know
So
what? Yes. And that was my
we
Corona year, and I was like, I didn't have to finish the season. They still paid me because I was in France, and I was like, I'll take all your money. It's fine. I was miserable, but
it
hey.
happened, you know. What what is something that, looking back on now that you're retired, what is something that you're very proud of from your career?
Ooh, something that I'm very proud of. I think the best thing for me, okay, two things.
Okay,
One was getting my master's.
good.
1 year that I went to Spain, I changed my agent, changed the country, and just like literally in 1 week was like, I'm doing it and signed up. So it was like making changes, kind of like
Mhm.
not being, like complacent, doing something
Right.
else. And then one, I think just from my teammates that I've heard like throughout the years that they liked playing with me.
Mhm.
Um, as a person, like, they like me as a person, but also as a player. And that's to
Right.
me is more of a validation than like, let's say, stats or championships or whatever. I think when you make others better and when they enjoy playing with you, that like it's a, testament to you as a player. And to me, that's important because that's what I like. Yeah, we make money, blah blah blah. Like I don't care about winning that much. I want to enjoy
Right.
playing, and you enjoy playing when you play with others. There's a give and take. Like you're not out there
Right.
by yourself. So to me, that's the biggest compliment, and what I kind of makes my whole career yeah, I don't know. I contributed to other people's success and good time
Mhm.
and experience. Like it's not that serious, in terms of all the winning, losing, and all the drama that they make you believe in.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can't take yourself too serious.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
although it's your job, of course you should take your job seriously, and you should do everything to be the best player that you can be.
for
Everybody
sure.
has their own motivations why they're doing what they do. And that no one can say, okay, your reason is better than my reason, or worse than my reason. And I think that's really important what you just said, because that's something that a lot of people outside the game, they just don't understand. They
No.
can't possibly understand. And that's why I try to do this show, and that's why I'm really happy with how candid you are, because I want to make sure that people understand that we as athletes or former athletes, um, yeah, that we're people and we have different motivations. We have
Yeah,
the same fears, the worries, the joys, the excitement that everyone has with their job. One day you hate it, one day you love it. It,
yeah,
it happens. And I have to say, I'm pretty glad I'm not a player anymore, especially with social media.
yeah.
I I,
I'm
I
just
think
glad I'm not a player anymore.
uh,
I'm fresh. I'm only 2 months out, but wow, what a life.
did you have any experience, like bad experience with social media being an athlete?
Not in particular. I mean, I try to keep, I only have Instagram and for the most part have kept all of my profiles private. I don't engage. It's all by design. I don't want random people's opinion in my inbox. So most people that have like messaged me or reached out, it has been nice, supportive messages. And because I don't really actively engage with fans or whatever, I feel like people don't have a lot to say. And like, I don't play in a way that makes me like maybe a target of any kind of, comments or whatever. The only thing is maybe like that's not social media. I guess it's in the city, somebody snitches on you to the coaches. Like that's the most annoying thing. Um,
No,
whether you
come
went
on.
out
Give me a
drinking and
story
you
about
were
that.
hanging out with someone and it's just
Thank
like,
you.
come on,
Give,
like
give me.
I'm 30 years old, like leave me the hell alone.
Did you ever have any weird fan interactions? Not, I don't mean on social media. I
Oh
mean just
dear
in
God.
general.
Yes, I did, but I feel like
Please give
everybody
me a
knows
story. Come
about
on.
this one and I can't.
Come on. Come
It's
on.
gonna be so obvious.
Come on.
Well, somebody basically like
We
asked
can
me if
we
I
can
would.
change the names for the
No,
purpose
it's
of.
very specific. It's
Oh,
very specific. But
okay.
anyways,
I don't want to
like
get you in trouble.
basically, I just like it's not nice. Oh my God, I'm not really nice, but maybe I'm getting softer. But anyways, this yeah, fans like asking if I would date them or something like that.
Oh, you had a groupie,
Ah, it was a
stalker,
weirdo. It was a weirdo.
stalker.
I'm gonna have to. Oh my gosh, I like can't believe that I'm being so nice and like not putting them out there. Um, but yeah, no. For the most part, I didn't have. I mean, I had like a random letter from like Czech Republic, then Finland or somewhere, and they were like, "Hey, like I'm a big fan. Send me a picture." And I'm like, "Why?"
Did they at least send a stamped envelope with that?
They did. They did a
Yeah.
return envelope and
Hey,
everything, and I was
then
like,
that's good.
it was very nice. I still have those. This is only like two, and I was like, oh, this is so sweet, but also weird. Like, why are you in Czech Republic keeping up with me? Like, I'm not online for you to even like, keep up with my life. I don't post anything. So, anyways, I don't know.
Well, it's you never know what kind of people you can affect and where especially now with the internet age, even though you don't post a lot, you're not very active on social media.
Yeah.
What I found is I still get every blue moon I'll get like a random um letter with can you sign like with like one of my old autograph cards like can you sign this and also
Yeah.
with the stamped envelope so that you can send it back and of course the last couple of years I've been a lot more active on social media so it's easier to find me and
Ah, yeah.
I'm really pleased by that because yeah, one came from Belgium, you just never know how you're going to affect someone's life and in a positive way.
Yeah.
And so I think it's pretty cool. Sometimes it's weird. I also have a really stalker-like story as well. When basically was not supposed to do this, work at my social insurance, my insurance company, my health insurance company in Germany, and she got my private information and wrote me.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a one way to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So, but of course, there are all kinds of interactions like that that happen. But it's like I said, you never know. There could be some girl that you are their inspiration
Yeah.
for playing the game. Just like you said, the girl that you sat next to in the league, you
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. So you never know.
Yeah.
It might not
She
be
probably has no idea, and I'm like, oh my God, my biggest idol.
exactly. That's the
Yeah.
thing. And somebody, there could be some little girl that you are their hero.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
So now let's move on to what's next. First part of my question is, was it a planned thing when you would stop playing? And number two, were you scared of that moment of not playing?
Yeah. So I've been planning to retire for probably 10 years. Um, it's yeah, it's been long in the making, but because of COVID, I had, like you don't want to end on the COVID year, then the year
Right.
after was absolutely horrible. So
You didn't want to
I
go out
didn't
on
want to
that note?
retire. I didn't want to retire then. And then last year, it just like that was the coach that asked me actually, what do you like? I asked him, what are you signing me for? And he signed me for all the things that I was good at, that I was able to offer. And
Right.
that group was absolutely amazing. Like I cried at the end. I was like, you guys, like
Mhm.
you made basketball like what I always wanted it to be,
Right.
and it
That's
was just
great.
it was a perfect time, and like we didn't win. I mean, it hurts. It still hurts. I haven't processed it, but it was just like it was a perfect moment to be like, you know what, I want to go out, kind of having given it my all, but also on a good note,
Right. On your own
and I
terms.
just, yeah. And there are some other things that I wanted to do that it was kind of like, okay, I've pre-planned, with getting my master's, getting all my things, like I bought a house, just all the things that it's like, okay, you have to take the next step anyway. Like, don't wait until you're forced
Right.
to take that next step. And so all of the things that I have been preparing for, they have lined up, and I was just like, you have to do it. And it was the perfect year, and I kind of, yeah. So it was definitely planned. And I wasn't scared. Oh my God, I was so ready. But the stopping, I guess like it hasn't hit me yet. Maybe like ask me again in September because I'm home. You're usually home for the summer, so everything is still kind of like the same. But I think
Usually. Right.
yeah, once I see people going back overseas and posting
Mhm.
about like preseason stuff, maybe I'll be like, oh shit, like what's happening? But no, I mean, this is like as good as, as it could be. And I'm glad that I was allowed the luxury of kind of like planning my exit.
how long did you seriously say, okay, um, it's over soon? How long was it? Because when I retired, I knew when I was going to retire. It was planned. I was going to go to coaching. All of that was pretty set in its way. Um, but did you know what you wanted to do exactly when you retired?
So I kind of knew what I
I
wanted
mean,
to
this is
do.
still fresh. I'm sorry to cut
It
you off. This
is.
is
Yeah,
still
yeah.
fresh. You're 2 months out, but you
Yeah.
had to have already thought about it before.
Yeah, so I actually thought about it back in like 2014 when I played in Poland, and I got injured. It was a stupid injury. I needed a scope on my ankle, so it wasn't bad. But in my head, I was like, I've never been injured before. I was like, oh my
Right.
God, my life is over. So, and I couldn't move. So I spent like 3 months researching, reading all the books and doing all the like little personality tests, whatever, to figure out like what is it that I wanted to do. And I got my bachelor's in psychology, so I knew like I wanted to go that way, like in that direction. So anyways, all their searching and I find a life coaching program and I was like, okay, that sounds good. So that summer I enrolled, um, and it was awesome. Like it was everything and more that, I could have wanted. So I was
Mm.
like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I ended up not getting a contract until January 23rd. My last day of training was January 17th. So it just like worked out so perfectly. And ever since then, I just kind of kept on building on it. So I got like a
Right.
few more certifications. And then, what is it, like 3 years ago, I started my master's. So like I knew since then that I wanted to be in like psychology, life coaching, therapy, something of that nature. And I've been just kind of building towards that.
So now let's get into exactly what you do. I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything like that. So can you please describe to the teammates out there what services you provide, what you do,
Yeah.
and also what they can expect from your services.
Yeah. So I started a life coaching for athletes um, business. Um, it's basically it's helping people figure out whether my focus, my interest is more in like clarity in your plans and your path and confidence because I found that confidence really affects like everything,
Everything.
especially
Mhm.
in sports. Um, so with confidence and clarity, that's my focus. That's what I like to work with people on, and it's basically like building people up and giving them tools to move forward, to kind of remove the barriers,
Mhm.
to kind of success, like remove yourself, like when you are your own kind of worst enemy, you know.
Right.
And on top of that, I'm entertaining an idea of going back to school again to kind of
Mhm.
get more into the therapy side of it,
Right.
because although coaching does help and I have like the knowledge and experience to help people, I'm kind of interested in learning like where some of the things originate from.
Mhm.
And that's what coaching doesn't necessarily like. You
It
need more
doesn't
of
go
like a
that far.
therapy background.
Right.
Yeah, because like we don't know. Coaching helps you figure out what is it that you want, but like if you have these barriers that you don't even know where they came from, or you're not even aware of what you want, then you need some additional help. And I want to provide that because also, I'm dealing with my own stuff with transitioning out of basketball, and it's surprising.
It's real.
I'm very surprised. Yeah, and I have two people that I'm working with therapeuting me, and my friend that I live with, she's actually a therapist, so I'm getting a lot of free therapy here. Over, we're drinking a lot of wine, and I've been like crying twice a week probably. It's a lot to process, and I
Yeah.
just talking to my friend who's a therapist and her helping me, the thing that I found that her background in like attachment styles and just childhood traumas and like the
Mhm.
way your childhood and your earlier years affect you, um, that it's important pieces of information that I as a life coach am not able to
Right.
help people with. So that's why I want to kind of like, expand my toolkit and be able to help people. but for now, focusing on like kind of clarity in your path, in your next moves, and confidence. Um,
And why do you specialize in athletes? I mean, you could do it for everybody, I'm sure, but
I at the moment, because it's easier audience to connect with and to have to find them, to have some credibility. I'm
right,
not necessarily interested just in athletes. So my main reason for that, for athletes, is that I don't want to work with people who kind of like have the victim mentality. And I think as an athlete, you can't.
right,
You absolutely can't succeed as an
right,
athlete with a victim mentality. And that's kind of my way of sifting out the
mhm,
people that I don't want to work with.
right.
But I will expand. I'm not going to be just an athlete coach for forever. It's just like a starting point. I would like to expand, my service to
Mm.
a lot more other people. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then on the side, I have been doing furniture remodeling and
I was coming to
demolish
that.
demolishing things as may I present to you this mess. Do I know how to do any of that? No, but I'm learning as I go. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I've been up
that's
to.
that's I was going to ask you about that because I've seen it. You kind of started dabbling in that, and I always find it interesting when athletes or former athletes they start doing something that is totally the opposite of what you kind of picture of them doing.
Yeah.
Was that something? Was the refurbishing of furniture or dilly dallying in that? Was that something you've always done, or is it now because you're kind of coming down? You're done with playing. Did it kind of evolve?
It definitely evolved. So I like doing things with my hands. So I do like my own hair, nails, like a whole bunch of different things, like I don't know, crochet, whatever. And also my parents have remodeled floor to ceiling, remodeled apartments from YouTube.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so okay, never predict the furniture remodeling. So actually, I don't know, maybe I stumbled upon this on like YouTube or Instagram, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. Like you could take this, turn it into that.
Right.
And then as I was learning kind of about it, and I was like, oh, this is a little bit interesting. They explained, they're like, oh, redoing furniture is the same as doing nails. And I was like, wait a minute. Like nails is my specialty. And they were like, okay, like with sanding, the base coat, the color, then the top coat, this is how you shape and shift. And I was like, oh my God. And it just like something connected. And I think it's not my interest in furniture. It's just doing something with my hands and kind of like creating and seeing. I like seeing like the progress, like you start, like I like cleaning, super random, but it's like I like seeing a mess go into like this something else. So yeah, I wish it wasn't as freaking hot in Houston because I'm outside in like 100-degree weather trying to sand these doors right now, and it's not working out. So I'm limited to like the few early hours of the day. But yeah, it was kind of random, but I wanted to do something different.
Is it one of those things that really like now that you have more time or not more time because you're in the summer where you would normally be maybe working out, but you
Yeah.
still have a little bit more time than you usually would when playing, that you're starting to branch out and to do things that you wouldn't have normally done. Is it kind of like a,
Yeah.
a conscious thing?
Yeah, I think what it was is every year, yes, I have the summer free, but I feel like others will agree that in the back of your mind, you're constantly like, I have to train, like season is coming. Like even if I'm not actively thinking about it, I know that whatever the heck I'm doing here is cute, but like I have a job to do
Right.
later. And I think like it just didn't allow me to really dive into anything else other than training. Every morning I was like, I wake up, I'm going to the gym. Like I don't care what else is happening. Like I need to be at the gym. So I don't know, now that kind of like space in the back of my mind, like that, I don't know,
It's
it's like
gone now.
rain, it's like rains almost, like, they have been lifted. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much stuff I want to do.
Mhm.
Um, and it's also non-competitive things. I don't want to compete with anyone. I don't want to rank, rate. I don't want you to give your opinion on my pieces that I'm doing. I'm gonna mess up and there's nobody there to like yell at me. Like in basketball, I feel like even when you're learning, even when you're practicing, you're still getting fucking screamed at for trying something, like
Mm.
failing. Like that's the only way you're gonna learn a new
To
skill is
fail.
like you
Right.
have to mess up. But it
Right.
just like has become so unacceptable to mess up.
Mhm. Good
I don't
point.
know, it really it got in my head. Like the last few years have been really hard for me with that. So I wanted to do something that was for me, that was not being like judged, compared, or competed,
Mhm.
and that's
I
kind of what I'm
I
looking for in my
totally
next
I
chapter.
totally get that.
Yeah.
Totally get that. When I retired from, okay, I went right into coaching after I retired, and then I did that for another 9 years. And when I finally decided to get out of basketball and go into teaching, where I've been for the last 6 years, um, I don't think I watched any games or anything for like 2 years. Like I
Have no
was,
idea who won the NBA championship. Don't know,
I,
don't care, don't tell me.
exactly. I was just so over basketball, and it's only been in the last, I would say, 3 years that I've really it's coming back.
Yeah.
I feel it. I feel it. And for example, my kids, they always try to get me to play and stuff like that, and I'm like, I have like zero. I got a bum knee, but and I'm old and I suck now, but I just have no competitive gene whatsoever anymore. Like it's
Zero. I
gone.
don't have it. I don't want it. I gave away. So now to work outside, I need like some, like rinky-dink clothes. I don't have not one t-shirt. I gave away all my t-shirts, my shorts, my shoes, my tights, my sports bras, my dry fits. I don't own socks that are more than just ankle. Like I don't want it. I don't want it. I know I'll
I
come back
get
to
it.
it at some point, like a little,
Yeah,
because I would
yeah,
like to give back and somehow be a resource for others. At the moment, I'm just like this summer, I just don't want to even think about any
yeah.
of that.
I get it. I totally get
Yeah.
it. Uh, so um, I want to go into a little bit of a complex situation. And I know that your heart is for sure devastated by what's going on in your home country, this unjust war that's going on in
Yeah.
your country. How is it for you to be away from home and so far with everything that's going on? And that's the first part. And the second part is your family okay?
Yeah. There's definitely like being away and being okay and having resources to be elsewhere. Um, have like the most, I don't know, what do you call it? Like the survivor's guilt, because it's not like
Yeah, I know
survivor,
what you mean. Yeah.
but there's definitely a lot of guilt in like being okay.
Mhm.
Um,
And actually living your life, kind of.
and yeah, not being, I mean, like I am directly affected because like my family is there and everything, but still not enough to where like none of my things are,
Hmm.
affect doesn't stop my life. I feel like that makes it tough, but at the beginning it was like not okay because this started at in February, so it was like still sort of like
You're
middle of the
playing.
season. Yeah, and I was like keeping up with the news. My parents were there, and I think like one of the days, um, me and my sister, so my sister lives in the States as well. Uh, we were on FaceTime with my family, and we heard the explosions in the background, like shit just blowing up, and like it was the worst feeling
Mhm.
I have ever felt in my, like it was the most like you kind of face your like mortality, I guess.
Right.
So that was really bad. And after that, like I had to get on a whole bunch of like sleeping pills, anti-stress pills. So it was very hard um, to deal with that. Since then, my mom moved to, she's a refugee in Belgium now.
Mhm.
Um, my dad can't leave the country because he's under 60 and men under 60 can't leave. So I talked to him today. He was like, well, I'll be here for another year at least, and my mom is trying to stay out of there just in case. So yeah, it's been hard just feeling that like survivor's guilt, I guess, or whatever
Mhm.
you call it. And yeah, like my parents are okay. My grandma's back home, and it's not so great. She's
Mhm.
like sleeping in the basement. It's like the
Like a bomb
bunker.
shelter. Hmm.
Bomb shelter. Yeah, there you go. But she's saying like they're bombing every day because an hour from us, the next like county over, I guess, that city's taken over. So that's a bit tough because, my parents aren't, if it's Russia or any of that crap there, like we don't want to live there. We don't want to, it's to the point like my family, we speak Russian among each other. Like I deleted that stupid keyboard. Like, and I know it's like, it's not logical and it's not reasonable, but I hate all things Russia.
No, I'm sure that that's also a part of that survival guilt in a way that you just want to kind of distance yourself from everything and yeah, that you're now. I think it's totally understandable that you just don't want to have anything to do with anything Russian.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't equate what you're going through because, of course, I'm from America and there was no war in America. But I take it as like when I was playing overseas, when I living overseas, I'm still living overseas. Um, Things that happen back home that I'm not able to just randomly get on a plane and go. Like my mother passed
Yeah.
away and I wasn't there, you know. So
Hmm.
that I have a lot of guilt towards that as well. And I think all of us athletes, when we play overseas, that comes with the territory. So you kind of learn how to deal with certain issues. It's
Yeah.
nothing comparable to what you and your family are going through with this war situation. But I think it's still along the lines of the mentality of how you develop as an overseas athlete when you're gone for 10 months out of a year.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I'm finding out now through therapy is that the tools that have helped me to like thrive in basketball are very much survival skills. Like they have put me in like survival mode. So
Mhm,
I have realized literally that I have for the last was like 22 years since I came to the States, I have been in like this survival mode.
mhm,
You push through everything. There's no excuses. There's no allowance for your feelings. There's no allowance for like, well, take it easy. There's no I haven't been understanding and kind and accepting of myself because there was no
mhm.
room for that. It's like you either do the thing you need to do or you're out. You will get replaced,
Yeah,
whatever. So now I'm realizing like how much of my determination and things that have helped me have been purely out of like this survival, like
instinct. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And now that I'm allowing myself to like feel things, to just have compassion for myself, it's a wild it's a wild roller coaster,
Mhm,
and I understand that like we need those things, like being thrown into another country and like you don't speak whatever the language, you have to deal with the management, you're on
right,
your own,
right.
you need these skills. But I think at some point, especially like myself playing for 14 years and just being away from home for 22 years, um it takes away some of like the compassion and
Mhm,
humanity out of you, because my whole time suck it up and get shit
mhm.
done, and like you'll cry
Okay.
later. Not sustainable, not healthy.
No,
Now that I'm
no,
out of it, I'm
not
just
at all.
like, wow, like uh, it's a lot. It's good, I guess, habits for making it in basketball, but then when you think about it, it's like, well, should we be going through, like, is there
Yeah,
a better way to do it?
yeah.
And that's like one of my other, like things about life coaching and working with athletes, also helping us realize what we do is not easy. But because it's, all of my friends are the same, it's kind of like, well, they're all going through the same thing as
Right.
well. How hard can it be, And you kind of don't, my non-athlete friends are always like, dude, like, relax, like like yourself a little bit, like have compassion for yourself. And I was always like, no, this is unacceptable, like you just need to get shit done. That's, and like for us, it's, you
It's
don't
normal.
discuss like feelings, weaknesses,
Mhm.
you never allow that to be seen. And I don't think we realize how much of it transfers into our everyday life
Yeah.
and how much damage it does to just the way you interact, the way what you accept. um like in other areas of my life, I think I allow some situations that are, you shouldn't, or I don't even want to allow, but I'm kind of like, well, I can tolerate, I can take it. Like
Yeah. You're
I'm
used to
built
taking
different.
stuff. Right,
yeah, I'm used
right.
to take, but it's like, do I have to constantly
Should
take
you?
shit? And like, where,
Exactly.
it's okay for you to get something just because like you don't have to suffer to constantly like be put down, like you don't have to go through all these battles just for you to get a good thing in your life. And so it's a lot of like I'm going through a lot of unlearning of that crap that has built up over the last 20 something years.
And I think that's probably what pushed you as you continue your journey as a life coach, because you know both sides now. You know the side
Yeah,
of the fact that it's not sustainable, like you said, to have that facade up. Also, when you transitioning out of basketball, or you stop playing basketball or football or whatever, um, we athletes. It's only been a couple of years that really mental health has come to the forefront, and that we're starting to look at ourselves as
yeah,
more than just athletes. And I think it's
yeah,
extremely important, especially the work that you're doing, because as players don't like to admit that we're hurt, or we're hurting,
yeah,
or we're breaking down. And as long as someone is able to get that help and have an outlet for that, then that's the most incredible thing in the world, for an outlet for someone who's hurting. And doesn't
yeah,
even, maybe that person doesn't even know, but it might come out in your conversations with them. And I think that's an extremely important thing that you're doing, extremely good work that you're doing. And I hope that you can, if you decide to go back to school or not, but I hope you continue on that journey, because you know, just like I know, there's a lot of us that are afraid to talk to people and open up.
yeah.
And that's why it's really important that you do what you do. So, okay, I'm down to my last couple of questions. I want to end it on a
Okay.
light note. Um, so I just got a couple more questions, very easy, quick ones. Actually, we already answered that question. We answered that question as well. Uh, okay, what was so you came over to America when you were 14. What was
Hmm.
the first pair of basketball shoes that you got, and you were like, "Wow, I'm in America and I have these."
So the one pair, I mean, like for the team, like we had team shoes for
Right, right.
basketball that, I mean, they were not impressive. But so I lived with a family of, they had four kids plus me. And the dad of the family, one year, I don't remember if you remember this was maybe 2000, like two or something. He just like out of the blue goes to the store. He's like, I'm gonna get you some shoes. And I was like, okay, whatever. And he gets me these like white and baby blue Jordans that had like this baby blue sock
Oh
um
yeah, I remember those. I know
on
what you
it,
mean. I
and
know
they
what
were
you mean.
so fly. You don't like obviously like you didn't play in them, you just walked around in them. And he just I've never owned anything like that before,
Yeah.
and yeah, he went and bought me these Jordans, and I just remember, and I was like the first one. Okay, my school only had like 200 people, but I was like the first person to have it, and I was like,
Oh, you fly.
it was totally not my, like, I'm not into shoes. I don't care about any of that stuff. But it was just like it was a nice gesture from him.
Mm.
And then I don't know, others were like, "Oh my God, like you have these shoes," and I was like, "Okay, weird people." Like I don't know why that's a big deal, but I don't know. To me, that was like, I don't know. I remembered it to this day that I was like, "Oh, those were cool." I don't even think they had like name or number. I don't even know what they were, but they were fly. That was like the
Okay,
baby blue and white.
okay. Um, Looking back on your career, who would you consider that you patterned your game after? Male or female, it doesn't matter.
I don't
Is there anybody
think.
that you think you kind of
No, I
associated?
liked. I don't know if I like pattern my. I don't think I pattern my game after anybody because I don't. I don't watch. I don't study basketball. I'm not a basketball fan. Sorry.
Gotcha.
But in the way I played, it was just like anyone that's kind of like Dirk, I guess, kind of like bigger, a big mobile post that doesn't like to be in the post.
So,
So,
yeah, I got
seeing people like that kind of it encouraged me to be myself and not peg myself into this, like, you're supposed to do this, um so yeah, he's like the only one I could think of, but I've never had
so that kind of
basketball role
stretch,
models.
that kind of stretch four mold.
Yes, oh my God, dream job. Are you kidding me? Just pass the ball, set picks, and shoot threes. Like, uh
Okay, and the last one I got for you. Um, Is there anything, when you look back on your career, that you wish you had done differently?
absolutely. I would have asked for way more money. Um, I think now that I've retired and I see how much I've given up to go play, I'm just like,
No,
what the my first so like my first very first contract in France, it was maybe like at that time it was close to like $50,000 or something, maybe 40, I don't know. And I was like, oh my God, they're paying me this money to play basketball. I wanted to like give it back. I seriously was like, I don't deserve it. Oh my God, like, are these people crazy? They're giving me all this money. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? And now I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what did like because of the COVID and everything, like the salaries are kind of going down, and I'm
right.
just like, I'm giving up way too much, and that was one of my other reasons for like retiring. I was like, I'm actually like, giving up kind of a lot. Like, I don't like things that matter in life for me. I'm not able to freaking do because I'm here like slaving, and you have me and my attention and my presence for like 24/7. You can summon me at any hour of the day. And I was just like, no, 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 no. Like, what I bring to you is worth way more. And I wish I had the same attitude at the beginning and knowing that you'll always get a job. Like, if you're a decent,
Right.
like, I'm a pretty good player, like, I was always going to get a job and like I didn't have to settle. So I think that's like one thing, like kind of knowing your worth and value and what you're exchanging for that dollar
Right.
amount.
Right.
I was completely off.
I do have one more question.
Hmm.
Was it all worth it?
Yeah. With like
Well,
not
I'm
enough
talking
money
about
and
everything.
everything.
I'm talking about moving from Ukraine when you're 14,
Oh,
uh,
absolutely.
and everything
It's
that your life went through. Was it worth it?
absolutely. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's an experience, right? The
Right.
experiences that I got, whatever they cost, I I don't think anyone, not anyone, I don't think majority of people, even, 70 or 80 years old, can say that they've done in their 70, 80 years what I've done in 36.
Right.
I would never trade it. It was
Right.
absolutely the people I've met, the things I've seen, places I've been to. There's no like dollar amount
Right.
that I could place on it. And, our brain is adaptable. Like, whatever happens to you, like, if people can make sense out of being, in the concentration camps or whatever, and they can come out of there and be like, you know what, like, not to say that they needed to go through it, but it's kind of like your brain will adapt. And so
Right.
I think
Right.
that's my
I know
brain
what
has
you
been
mean.
adapting all these years to make it the best experience. And I would absolutely do it again.
Good. And that's the note we'll go out on. I really, really appreciate you, Val, for coming on and your candidness, your openness, your willingness to share your story, also the good, the bad, the fact that you're not a basketball fan. I mean, how many people are going to admit that? So I and that you went for the money sometimes. I mean, you know,
Hey,
yeah. But no, seriously, I'm really happy that you jumped on and took the time out of your day and now get back to your furniture
I know
refurbishing.
my bathroom is waiting for me. I have to like take this wallpaper off.
So yeah, so get on up out of here, and I'm going to say goodbye to the
All right.
teammates
Thanks
still
for
out there.
having me.
I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best with your family. For that's
Yes,
the
thank
first
you.
thing, and also in your career journey that your transition is as smooth as possible.
Thank you. All right, bye.
All right, bye bye. So teammates, I'm really like blown away, and she was a great guest, and I really loved her candidness, and that's what I hope to get out of my guests. And she was definitely one of the most candid people I've had on, and really didn't watch her guard, and I really really appreciate that. So that's it for tonight. I do have an episode coming up on this Friday, 6 o'clock German time, 12 o'clock p.m. Um, Eastern time in America. Sorry, I had a little bit of a brain fart there. So I think you're going to like the guest that I have on. It's a college athlete, a current college athlete, and he's going to give us a big spin on NIL's name. What is it? Name? Uh, Come on, Sean. I'm tripping right now. Somebody write it in the comments, please, before I look like a fool. Um, Name, image, likeness. So he's going to give us a lot of information about that, and I'm really excited to hear about that because that's something that I don't have a lot of experience with, and maybe to help someone out in the future. That'll be on Friday in 2 days, and I hope everybody will tune in. This episode will be up tomorrow morning, and I'll have the contact for Val, like how you can reach out to her. Maybe someone would like to use her services, which I would highly recommend. And yeah, let's see if we can do a little bit good for the community. So share, like, you know, and yeah, be safe, everyone. And I hope to see everybody on Friday. That's it for me tonight. Old head out.